Evening, everyone. We acknowledge, appreciate the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq First Nation. Call to order. Just want to highlight that the community report for 23-24 is out, and it's easy to access on charlottetownhall.ca, so it's available there. And just for councillors, there are nomination cards to go out to all the constituents in your wards about regarding Make Our Hometown Beautiful. It's about a contest that we have to celebrate the investment residents put into their homes. And I'm going to ask our acting CAO, Mr. Richard McEwen, just to tell us what's in the box in the middle of the floor. And I notice he's wearing the white gloves.
Let's have a look, Your Worship, and see what's in this box. Very, very close. This is the Stanley Cup of the water industry. I am very pleased to bring back to City Council, and in particular the Chair of the Water and Sewer Utility, the AWWA Championship Best Tasting Tap Water in all of North America.
That's it, that's it, that's it. Well, where's the champagne, Richard? Where's the champagne?
We put drinking water into this cup.
Councillor Duran, do you want to follow up with that? I just want to say that we are tremendously proud to have won this competition. We in Charlottetown take tremendous pride in making our community the best place to live, work, play, and raise a family, not only in Atlantic Canada, but in Canada. So to receive this acknowledgement for the taste of water for the whole North America makes us very proud, and many thanks to the management staff and our workers in public works and water and wastewater throughout the city. Thank you. So,
Your
Rich,
Worship?
I guess I can do the over the head. I wanted to do always wanted to do this.
There you go.
Now let's get the champagne.
All right. So again, it is a great award. This is the North American Championship. So we were competing with many other, well, every community across North America. So Charlottetown first won in Atlantic Canada, and to win the championship in Atlantic Canada last year, we beat the North American champion from the previous year, from Miramichi. So I was hopeful. This trophy was here in Charlottetown. I didn't touch it, but now I do get to touch it. We have won, and we brought the championship back again to Canada and to Atlantic Canada. So hoorah for us.
Well done, Richard. Not only that, he's been waiting all day for this trophy to be received, and when it finally came in, it went right to the center of our chamber. So I have declarations of conflict of interest. Councillor Duran, there may be one there under planning. It's to follow the order from IRAC regarding development out in West Royalty. So just take a look at it when it comes up. Any others? No? Approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? Oh, you have something to add to it there, Councillor?
Yeah, Your Worship, I'd like to, there's a Finance and Administration and tendering resolution number 2 that I'd like to defer back to committee for further discussion.
Richard, does he wait until that report comes up and then defers it at that point in time, or can he defer it now? Can you just give your expert opinion?
I would think it's now a decision of council looking at the deferral. It's on the agenda, and bring it forward at that time and see if you have council's approval for a deferral.
Okay, so it's moved by Councillor McAleer, second by Councillor Duran. Question? All those in favor of deferred? Okay, Against? So it's 10-0. Okay, so we have adoption of previous draft minutes. We had the regular meeting. Do you have something under the minutes?
I have a question on the minutes.
Yep, can I just get business arising out of the minutes? Okay. Regular meeting, June 11th, 2024. Public planning meeting, June 26th, 2024. Special meeting, June 27th, 2024. So to approve those minutes, I need someone to move them. Moved by Councilor Ramsey, second by Councilor McKinnon. All those in favor? Okay, business arising out of the minutes, Councilor Bernard. Can you just identify which one and,
It would be Public Works on June the 11th. That would be with the speed bumps.
and that's June 11th? Do you have the page, the digital page?
Well, do I have the digital page?
Yeah.
Well, it's on a 6.4, Public
Okay,
Works.
go ahead. It's in the previous minutes of
June 11th.
June 11th, and it's under Public Works.
So it's discussion that we would have had last month.
Yeah. We're just, I think what Councilor Beck is trying to do is just find the page where it is. That's what I'm trying to do too.
Okay.
7? Okay.
Okay?
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. So as we all recall, we had a debate on the speed bump policy. But since then, I've talked to some of the management and how the policy was created. So I just wanted to bring it to council because I have a couple questions on it. So as we're aware, Your Worship, ward boundaries, when they're set, they're based on resident numbers. So they try and keep all the wards around the same number. And so I think every 3 elections, they redraw the lines. The lines are drawn to keep the wards as evenly distributed as possible per resident. This creates some wards geographically smaller than others. So when the speed bump policy was created, I understand that the kilometers of streets were calculated per ward, and the number of speed humps allocated per ward was based on the kilometers minus any major roadways like University Avenue or St. Peter's Road. It's also my understanding, Your Worship, that the density of a street or the risk safety issue per street was not part of the policy. So what we have is a calculation for the number of speed bumps in a ward. It's calculated using residential streets regardless of the density. So what I find happening is, for example, if you look at the picture coming up on your screen, it's picture number 1. This is a street in Charlottetown. Wait till it comes up. So there's a street that would have been used for calculation, but there's no homes on either side of the street. The second picture is pretty much the same thing. The second picture is there's homes on one side, but there's none on the other. That's part of the calculation. The third picture is the same thing. The third picture has the speed bumps down. There's some homes on the right-hand side with none on the left. This gets to stay. The fourth picture is the density I talk about. This is Hillsborough Park, where you'll see the crosswalk there. There's a speed bump there. There's a pathway that goes from there all the way down to the community center. The point being is, I don't have any streets in my ward that don't have houses on either side. Hillsborough Park especially, it's just full, it's high density. So you have a lot of kids, you have a lot of pedestrians, you have a lot of people in the street. So I do think, it's very similar to you look at the ward districts for the province. If you look at Charlottetown District and you look at one up west,
Yeah.
quite a difference in size and geographical. So, when I look at this, I kind of have to wonder. I also understand that, last month we passed the resolution to buy 50 more speed bumps. Traditionally, we put down 75. That's what we've put down the last number of years. Now we're buying another 50. So I guess since the resolution was passed, I'm asking if Public Works could take this policy back to the committee for review, Your Worship, based on this new information. And if I could be invited to the meeting, I can give some more information on how it impacts my ward. Because I'm the only ward that you end up with the new policy taking speed bumps out, where every other ward can get more. So that's why I bring this up, Your Worship. I think there's some differences here in the different wards, and I think based on the calculation, it throws that off. So I think I'm asking for it to be reviewed. and if I can be at the Public Works Committee meeting also.
Okay, Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. I certainly have no problem with any policy that we have in place to amend, to look. I feel like every one of them should be growing as things change and we get more information. Scott is here, and I don't know if it'll be at the July meeting. I'm not sure if that agenda
And
is.
that's okay, that's okay.
But I'm
Not a big
certainly
pan.
okay with always looking at anything to see how we can do the best we can. So,
Sure.
yep, Scott, you can make note of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Drawn.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. I know we've been working on this from as long as I've been here, so close to 10 years. And I know when we started, we got one speed bump when there was only a certain amount of speed bumps and we were told they're all out. There's none left. And at that time, I think, Councillor Baird, you had 20 in your ward. I had one in mine. So we've been bugging the management to try to even it out for all wards, so we could all get some. I mean, every street wants one, right? So, I understand that you're losing some, but we never had any. So the actual request is to make it fair. I know you have people on both sides of the street. Most of my ward has people on both sides of the street. So it's not just one person losing something, it's another 9 wards gaining something. So as long as it's fair and equal, then that's the way it should be. I'm not saying that you should take it out of one of your streets that has a lot of kids, but that's, we have a lot of kids in our ward, and I'm sure everybody else does. That's why I've always said, just try to come back with a policy, and we've talked to management and the manager, try to make it even for everyone. And if it's even for everyone, then it's fair. So, thank you.
Councillor Drawn, second time.
No.
Councillor Bernard.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that's probably what kind of started this thing, is somebody asked for speed bumps and they said there was none left. I mean, I remember, Councillor Drawn, I think you put a resolution on the floor to buy 50. So, we buy 50. I think as an elected official, we have a responsibility. If there's a need, we ask for it. So I haven't heard of anyone saying, no, you can't have any more. And it would have been just a matter, I think, of asking to buy some more. And I think that's what happened here last month, is that council agreed to buy another 50. And we want to put 75. So now there's a surplus of speed humps, there'll be a surplus. Because I understand the demand. Now that we have the 75 down, the demand's not that high. Most of the streets have been looked after. Is there some that come through that request it? Yes. So there's a surplus amount there. So, thank you.
Yep, that's why we added the extra 50, because it could be used for inventory, extra inventory, or just put them all down. That's what I'm saying, put them all down. Councillor McCabe.
No, and I agree. And I do agree that we do need to have criteria as our city grows so that it does make sense to where they fit. So Scott, we'll also bring that back to our committee and just make sure that that's up to par, and that where we have things right now are based on where they're supposed to be, and we can relook at that as well. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Reports. 6.1, Planning and Heritage Deputy Mayor Alana Yankov, Chair of said committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everybody. So the full report is in your package from the Planning and Heritage various committees and boards. The Design Review Board and the Heritage Board did not meet this past month. The Housing Advisory Board met on June 18th. Planning and Heritage Committee met on July 2nd. Planning Board met on July 2nd. Again, all of the reports minutes are in your package. We have 2 resolutions, 2 first readings and 1 second reading for your consideration this evening. And I also will note that you'll also see the up-to-date permits that have been received and approved by the department. And you'll also see a list that is right up to year-to-date as well. Any questions? I will do my best to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. You got a resolution there, Mr. No question? Okay, didn't see your red light.
Sorry, I was late, sorry. Just one thing I do want to note on page 26 It's under the Housing Advisory Committee, the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee notes. The third bullet, it just says, as per the third initiative for bonus density, the city will promote 4 units per existing lot. I just want to make sure that the wording on that is consistent wherever we have it. It's per approved 4 units as appropriate, or because that's still a part that,
Yep.
I don't want that to be misleading,
Nope.
or to have the Affordable Housing Advisory Board say that we are going, full steam ahead with that. So I think we have to be careful with the wording on that, and I'd like that to be reflected in those minutes. Thank you.
Deputy?
Yep, that can be, and that's why they're here tonight. They're draft minutes, and that's why we're here to see if there's any changes that need to be made. So I appreciate that, Counselor Beck, and we will make sure that that is, the appropriate changes are made. So, yeah, thank you
Yes.
very much.
So when the minutes go back to the advisory committee, it'll be duly noted, because they're in draft form too. Thank you, sir. Not Deputy CAO, Acting CAO, Richard McCune.
Your Worship, Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 1, July 9th, 2024, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe, resolved that Council approve the rezoning as per the IRAC order dated May 2nd, 2023, order number LA 22-013, to amend Appendix G, zoning map of the Zoning and Development Bylaw from single detached residential small R-1S to single detached residential narrow R-1N to permit the subdivision of 46 lots for single detached dwellings on the remaining portion of land in the Sandalwood subdivision, an extension of Much Crescent, PID number 773051.
Could I also note that Councillor Bob Dron left the room because he's in conflict, so he's not part of the vote. Question? Question's called. Okay, in this situation, what do we do? I guess we'll just... We can do it? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those against? Okay, 9-0. Okay, Councillor Dron, can you ask him? Okay. No, you can read it.
Your Worship, Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 2, July 9th, 2024, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Resolved that Council approve the request to amend the current development concept plan and development agreement and to approve the site and concept elevations for the building as working site and building elevations for the property located at 115 Murchison Lane, PID number 425892.
Okay, question. So this time I can use the electronic vote, so we're going to use it. And Rory's down in the back of the room, ready to vote. And open. So you can just press your button, yay or nay. Good? Okay, so do you see that, Tracy? 10-0. And close. Accept. Okay, you got another one, sir?
That's it for resolutions.
Yeah, so we just do these by yay or nay.
So amend the City of Charlottetown Building Code Bylaw number PH-BC.3 to align terminologies with the recently enacted National Building Code. Resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Building Code Bylaw number PH-BC.3 be read a first time. Moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe, today, July 9th, 2024.
Shall I carry?
Resolved that the bylaw now be approved as a city bylaw and it be entitled the City of Charlottetown Bylaw City of Charlottetown Building Code Bylaw number PH-BC.3 and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe, July 9th, 2024.
Shall it pass? Pass, okay. There you go, Richard. Go to the next one, too.
So official plan PH-OPA.1, zoning and development bylaw PH-ZD.2 to adapt bylaw PH-ZD.2-83, a bylaw to amend the zoning and development bylaw to amend Appendix G zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from single detached residential small R-1S to single detached residential narrow R-1N on the extension of Much Crescent, PID number 773051. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw PH-ZD.2-083 as it pertains to the extension of Much Crescent, PID number 773051, as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council, dated July 9th, 2024, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe.
So it shall be noted, Councillor Drawn is in conflict. He has left the chamber. Shall it pass? Okay, 9-0.
Official plan PH-OPA.1, zoning and development bylaw PH-ZD.2 to adopt bylaw PH-ZD.2-082, a bylaw to amend the zoning and development bylaw to amend sections of the zoning and development bylaw, bylaw PH-ZD.2 pertaining to section 5.9.3, section 5.11, section 5.11.2, section 5.11.3, section 19.1.1, section 20.1.1, section 37.1, section 47, section 47.12.4, section 47.14, section 47.3, and Appendix A, whereas the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw PH-ZD.2-082 as it pertains to the zoning and development bylaw amendments as attached was read and approved a first time on June 11th, 2024. Be it resolved that said bylaw be read a second time and approved today, July 9th, 2024. Moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe.
Shall I carry? Pass, okay.
Be it resolved that said bylaw be adopted today, July 9th, 2024. Moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe.
Shall I carry? Okay, thank you. Okay. That's it, Deputy? That's it. 6.2, Parks, Recreation and Leisure Activities. Councillor Mitchell Tweel.
The report is in your package. We dealt with a couple of the issues that are in the minutes at our last special meeting of council. The committee did not meet. We're anticipating a meeting relatively soon. If there's any questions, I'll do my best. And we have Frank Quinn here, the manager of Parks and Rec. We'll certainly do our best to answer any questions. Thank you.
Councillor Beck.
Yeah, page 147. Just reading the work of the Seniors Advisory Committee, Seniors Engagement Committee. And I was looking through their Nourishing Connections program that they had a couple of dinners on May 25th, and it was noted that the group expressed some disappointment that no municipal or provincial politicians attended the event. I didn't know about it. I never heard about it. So, personally, I think it's a tremendous thing
Yeah.
that they're doing.
It's free dinner.
And hats off to the committee for doing it. I don't want to think that they were certainly snubbed on my part. I don't know how it comes about or how this information gets communicated, but I would certainly, I'd love to be a part of those if I'm able to make it and to get there. So again, hats off to the Senior Engagement Committee for the work that they're doing. I think it was tremendous, obviously well received, obviously well planned. With the exception of maybe the invite to, or us being aware of it. So anyway, that'd be great, and if they I'd look forward to being a part of that again. I hope it continues. Thanks.
Councillor Trio?
Yes, these are two great initiatives that the Seniors Active Committee had initiated. Hats off to them. The first was held in East Royalty. I wasn't aware of it. The second event, I was made aware of it, was held at the West Royalty Community Center. I did attend that event, and it was well received. So we can certainly enhance and improve our communications. Point well taken. And again, kudos to the Seniors Active. That's Kerry, just the Seniors Committee. We don't want to get that confused. We had a couple of Seniors Committee. I mean, I don't know who's in charge, but nonetheless, they've got a couple of committees. Each one of them has their own territories, their own mandates, their own facilities.
Okay, thank you very
their own
much.
venues.
Thank you.
But nonetheless, Councillor Beck, your point's well taken, and these events were well received by the seniors in our community.
Councillor McCabe?
Thank you, and I'm just going to piggyback because I see that the Youth Engagement Committee is also attempting to reach out to the youth in our community, and they're trying to plan an event, more of a panel system, so I would love to have more information when that takes place. It would be applicable to me in my everyday world of work, but also I'd love to know more about that, so if we could get some information on when these things are happening, that would be great.
Councillor McAleer, then Councillor Twiley, you got to answer both.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, just, and Councillor Beck, thank you. Just on that, the seniors engagement thing, I know that was at West Royalty Community Center, and I had that down to attend, but that was the same time that we were in with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities in Calgary. I know I'm not the West Royalty one, but it is a great dinner and a great service that we're providing on that for the seniors. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Twiley, you want to wrap it up? Kerry or seniors engagement?
We do our best to get some more information with respect to the panel and some of the issues that they would like to discuss affecting our community. As Councillor McAleer pointed out, I think the majority of members of City Council were attending the Canadian Federation of Municipalities conference. But I'll reiterate, I did attend the luncheon, which was held in West Royalty, and it was very well done. So again, I think some good things are happening. I would certainly like to work with the Seniors Committee to ensure that we have dinners and luncheons for the seniors in the downtown, particularly the ones that don't have any transportation, that wouldn't have the opportunity to access East Royalty or West Royalty. So I see a void there, and I'd like to close that gap. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Duran, water and wastewater.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. And the Water and Sewer Utility Committee met on June 20th, 2024, and the draft minutes are included in your package. We have two resolutions coming forward for your consideration. I don't support one, but I put it on the floor to get it here, so I just wanted to put that in now. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Richard McEwen and all the staff of the Water and Sewer Department. working very hard over the years and working towards getting this cup. It's a big production, it's a big opportunity, and it's a big accomplishment for the city of Charlottetown. So my hat is off to you, Richard. You've worked hard for this, and I'm glad to see it come forward. So if anybody has any questions on the minutes, I'll answer them as best I can. Thank you.
I echo those comments, Councillor Drawn, because Richard has done a lot of work for many, many years in that department. Now he's one of our directors, and today he's acting CAO. Councillor McAleer.
Thank you, Councillor Drong. Just on the minutes on the Malpeque Road Water Station, I guess it clearly states in the minutes there has not yet been a final decision if the roof replacement will be slate. Is that correct?
Councillor Drawn.
Thank you, Councillor McAleer. That's in one of the resolutions. So I guess we'll wait till it gets on the floor, and then we can discuss it, debate it, send it wherever it should go, and have a discussion then, and probably answer your question if you don't mind.
Mr. McEwen, you want to put first resolution?
Your Worship, Water and Sewer Utility Resolution Number 1, July 9th, 2024, moved by Councillor Bob Durong, seconded by Councillor Justin Muttart. Resolved that the City of Charlottetown proceeds with the Malpeque Road Water Station roof replacement and accepts the bid submitted by Robertson Restoration in the amount of $271,000 plus applicable taxes, and further that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Councillor Drawn.
Thank you very much once again, Mayor Brown. I struggled with this resolution. My name was put on it to get it to the floor. I don't support it. Our committee has discussed this numerous times. We jokingly said 19 times that we've discussed it. Came back to council, back to the committee. We can't agree. So I guess we pushed it to council for direction once again. Here we have a building down the Lower Malpeque Road. It was the former water and sewer building. I was talking to staff the other day. There's still a well there. It's used for storage. The roof was damaged during Fiona. It was patched up. Tarps were put on. And only recently, we had some asphalt shingles. We fixed a couple of the leaks to keep the roof intact. So it comes now that after a couple of years, it's been leaking and the roof needs to be totally redone. It would be a cost of anywheres from around $70,000 to put asphalt shingles on. Our manager wanted to put something that looked like slate. It went to the Heritage Committee. The Heritage Committee deemed that, we should go with slate if possible. So it came back to the committee, we came back to council. We're looking for a happy medium. If it was me, building a house, I would like to put asphalt or something that looks like slate to keep a historic value. The city of Charlottetown deemed that area historic. It doesn't have a national recognition. It's not available for funding, so we have to do it ourselves. The insurance company will pay a certain amount to put the asphalt shingles back. So we're faced with a large bill here. It's over $300,000 to put slate, and again, it won't be put in the books until 2025. The company that had the lowest tender is not available to do it this year. So what I'm thinking that, is there any way that we can adjust this to have asphalt shingles or something to look like slate? I just don't want to waste the money. You go around to people that are trying to keep their homes up, their yards, their driveways, they pay taxes. And if we can save money somewhere on saving the money for a roof like this and saving $200,000, then that's prudent on us. That's why we're here. I believe we're here. People work hard, they pay their taxes, and they want us to do what's right. Now, putting a slate roof down there on a storage building, is that right for 200 extra thousand? I don't believe it, that's my opinion. I'm just wondering if we can defer this back to the Heritage Committee or somebody that could take a look at it, that maybe we could do something like an asphalt shingle that looks like slate, and that'd be a happy medium. So it's here today. I don't want to support it. I won't vote for it, but it's open for discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Matart? Well, you can go first, then she'll follow. I want to just finish this up. Yeah.
Okay.
Go
Thank you,
ahead.
Worship. I guess, when I think about this one, as Councillor Drawn mentioned, we've been debating this and going around and around on this one. And one of the last times in council, there was a comment made about, what we expect others to do from a heritage perspective. Are we following that same thing from a city perspective? So my question to that would be, I think that having asphalt shingles is adhering to the minimum requirements of the heritage, so we're not going against that, I guess, at that point. I don't think any other resident who had the same option would pick one over the other if it was about financing. So I'm feeling that we're not going against heritage recommendation because there must be a minimum asphalt shingle application. And two, I'm really struggling with, as Councillor Drawn indicated, a $270,000 roof. I don't see the value in that building. We did talk about that building potentially becoming something else, using it as an information center, putting investment into it for the future, having it something. But to invest that kind of roof for that building to just sit there and continue to further decay over years with any real plan for it, I find that we're just going to have a nice looking roof. I guess I just don't, if we're not going against anything from a heritage perspective, then I wouldn't support the resolution.
Okay, so the reason I asked you to speak, Councillor Duran moved it, you seconded. Do you want to second the deferral? Do you want to second the deferral, or you want,
I'm not sure what we're deferring.
he wants to defer it back to the Heritage Board, correct, Councillor Duran?
Okay.
Heritage, hold on, just.
Second time, maybe I'll put the
Just,
deferral.
this is added to your first time, so do you want to send it back to?
Well, I'd like a discussion to see how council, what they feel about it, right?
Okay, so do you want a deferral
And
now?
I still want to defer it back to some, say the Heritage Committee to see if they could come up with a happy medium.
So we're moving for a deferral.
Sure, we'll do the
Do you want to
deferral.
second the deferral?
I can support a deferral if we're going back to find
Okay.
a happy medium on something that's less cost-effective, more cost-effective, than what we're looking at right now.
Okay, so there's a deferral on the floor, moved by Councillor Durant, yeah, I know, and then second by Councillor Mattar. And Councillor McCabe, you're in the lineup.
Yes, thank you, because I want to comment before I vote on any deferral, because when I'm reading the minutes, the last sentence says there was still some discussion on this to happen, basically, but this went out to tender. So we really haven't decided, are we going with asphalt, or are we going with slate? But we've gone to tender for the slate. So I'm a little bit confused how we went to tender when the final decision wasn't made, whether we were going to use asphalt or we were going to use slate in the first place. And I agree that maybe we've added to our heritage bylaw, we've added properties and put designation to say they're heritage that weren't heritage. Maybe we really need to have a really good look at what qualifies for heritage designation when we're looking at spending $270,000 for a roof on a building that's used for storage.
But could I add, the building did open in 1888, just like this building.
Yep.
So this is a heritage resource, and as Councillor Durant said, it's designated as a heritage resource by the City of Charlottetown, but the property is also listed in the Canadian Register of Historic Places. So
Yep,
it's in.
that's good. That's good that it
Okay.
is, yeah. But I
Councilor
think
Bernard?
we should look at it.
Thank you, Worship. But first of all, I'd like to add congratulations to Councillor Drawn and Acting CAO Richard. Best water in North America, not just Canada. That's pretty good. So congratulations. I guess on the historic designation, and I see it's Canadian Register of Historic Places, for me, it's what we expect and what we make other people that own historic properties do. And so whatever we make them do, we should follow. I don't disagree. You see some metal roofs out there now that look like slate. Maybe some of the historical bylaws that we have need to be reviewed. I think that's why you see a lot of historic properties that are fallen in disrepair. It's costs a lot of money to bring them up. So maybe that's the way you go. We should defer this, talk to the Heritage Committee, and just see what the rules are, see if there's any leeway to be able to move out, because we have to do what we're expecting other people with heritage properties to do. So I would support the deferring.
Practice what we preach. Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I sit on the water and sewer also, and congratulations, Richard, on that, and Bob. I don't know why we're saying Bob, but anyway, but that's part of it. For the last couple of years, or year for sure, we've been discussing this roof business, and one thing we got to remember, there was always asphalt shingles on this before, and that was the question we asked, and now all of a sudden, we're told that it should be slate, and that's what's the thing that I'm struggling with, because that's an extra $200,000. So we thought we're going to be all approved of just going back to the asphalt, but then the wheels fell off that wagon somewhere along the line. So I will not be in support of this. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Matard, second time.
Just my second comment, and I appreciate the comments that were just made by you about the fact that the building was from 1880. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's what we should be. I think we've got the wrong focus here. Where our focus is from the top down, we're looking at a roof versus looking at the building itself from the foundation up and what it could be for the city of Charlottetown. I just feel like we're just taking the wrong approach here. The roof is fine. I mean, we have to seal it up, and we have to get, obviously, I think it still might have a blue tarp on the roof, if I remember recently. And I thought that was one of the discussions we had here in council the last time was it did seem to get a little bit of momentum here about, hey, could this building actually be something else in the future? And that's what we probably should be focused on. Let's patch the roof, $70,000, get it sealed up, and then figure out what our long-term plan is for this particular building from a heritage perspective. As you just indicated, it's from 1880, and I'm sure there's all kinds of historical things about the building that we haven't identified here. So I think, that's where I'm standing is let's patch the roof with asphalt shingles and then look at a future plan from a heritage perspective as to what this building can be for the future of Charlottetown in that area, that particular area. So thank you.
Yeah, well, just a point of information, the original roof in 1888 was slate.
I was going to ask that.
It was slate, just like this roof. But when we did the renovations in 1988, they replaced it with asphalt.
Yeah.
No, my brother was here in 1988, not me. Councillor Beck. Deputy. Thank you there, Councillor Beck.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will support the deferral. I think there's a broader conversation to have here in terms of the Heritage Committee itself. And if we're going to discuss the longevity in the future of this pumping station, I think first we have to look at the existing bylaw, and as Councillor Matard had indicated, that the rules need to be equal across the city for not only for the city itself, but also for the residents that have heritage properties. So I'd be happy to support the deferral back to the standing committee to which I chair, and to make sure that we have a fulsome conversation about that, and then bring it back with a clear recommendation from the Planning and Heritage Committee, not necessarily about a recommendation that we have here on a price, but more so on a recommendation on how we should deal with this property. Yep, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Beck, are you ready?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir.
I won't support a deferral. I think it was pretty clear from our discussions at the Planning and Heritage Committee that we talked about this. We talked about the various options. We looked at the various possibilities that could go on the roof. I guess I look at our role as we are an historic city. And as an historic city, I think we have to practice what we preach. I think we have to adhere to be leaders and to model what we want. We may not always get what we want with regards to our buildings and whatnot, but I think, I mean, I'd love to be able to save, it's my money that's going, it's our money that's going into this building. It's all taxpayers' money. I'd love to be able to do it for a more reasonable price. I'm not opposing that. I just think that because of the significance, the historical significance of the building, in keeping with the recommendations, and it was a pretty clear message from the Heritage Board that this was the way to go. So I don't see a lot different coming back after we refer it back to the planning board. So I suspect that at some point in time, or down the road, we'll be coming back. Maybe different, I don't know. But I think we should be moving ahead with the project, even though it is costing us more money, so I will not support the deferral.
Councillor Drown.
Thank you. And again, you know, everybody has a vote, everybody has an opinion. You know, in this day and age, should it be one or the other? Like reality is heritage. You want heritage, sure, I understand that. But it's also reality, and Councillor Bernard, I think, or someone said, that's why a lot of the houses aren't being repaired, because they're not allowed, and else they put the original stuff in them. So we're looking at something here that, you know, it's currently asphalt. Okay, let's put it back to slate, which is over $300,000. Is there not a happy medium, which the manager at the time did come up with? He came up with a product that looks like slate. You would never know unless you went up and bid it. You know, it's the same historical feature. And that's why I think, you know, when we're doing buildings down here that call for the original wooden windows or wooden doors, they're 3 or 4 or 5 times the cost as a vinyl door. They break down, they swell. You know, I think we're coming into the age that, you know, let's fix things up. Let's do it in a prudent way. Use the taxpayers' money in a prudent way, just like your home. If I had a heritage property and I was told, I mean, I know my father-in-law years ago, he was going to take the heritage building because the building at that time was 100 years old. He wanted to get the status for it, and it was going to give him $5,000 in rebates. Well, by the time you put in 20 windows, that was triple the amount of the rebates he'd get back. So he didn't take the heritage designation. And now we have vinyl windows, vinyl doors. They're you know, working well. I think if he would have put them in 30 years ago, we'd be changing them out again. So, you know, reality here is it's a storage building. It's been a historic property deemed by the city of Charlottetown, not by the national standard of historic places. You know, so we have to, you know, try to be prudent here, spending the taxpayers' money. Should we have something that looks like slate at a third of the cost, or just go from either one extreme to the next?
Yeah.
So, like I say, that's all the information I can give you. I just hope we can do something in a prudent way, defer it back to the Heritage Committee. Maybe they can look at other heritage properties that are not being fixed because of the cost.
Yeah.
And maybe we can change the bylaw or the rules there.
Yeah.
Thank
So-
you.
So Councillor Duran, when we were doing the roof up here, it was suggested by the former CAO to go with a plastic slate. Now imagine a plastic slate falling off onto the sidewalk and someone saying, well, what's this? The original roof was slate. And if you looked after post-Hurricane Fiona, not one slate moved. You look at
No asphalt shingles in my house moved either.
There's a lot that
And you
moved.
you go down to the waterfront.
Yeah.
Where they did the Receiver coffee shop. That was a historic train
Yeah.
station.
Yeah.
They put asphalt shingles up there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't tell me because it's historic. This is a shed. It's a
Yeah,
storage
well,
shed out
it-
there.
it can evolve
So
into
let's get
something else.
Something that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Prudent with the taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
Make it look like slate. You know, is
Yeah.
someone gonna drive by and say, well, look at that, that's a beautiful slate, you know, roof?
I
All I'm
would-
saying is, let's take a vote.
Yeah.
Let's see if maybe we can get the Heritage Committee or up into this, you know, reality, I guess, that we can't just be putting old stuff in old buildings and them falling
Yeah,
apart.
no, but the slate would be new slate.
Yeah, slate, yes, but it's 3 times the cost.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Question?
So what are we voting on?
The deferral. Oh, Councillor Twill? On the deferral?
On the deferral on the state of the building, well, it was stated here tonight that it's not designated a heritage historical building, so it's not listed. So I'm not really sure why it went to the Heritage Review Board. With all due respect, it's not designated a heritage building. I'll support the deferral. Councilor Matart talked about, we should look at the building in its entirety, not just the roof, but the entire building. And I'll make a suggestion, and I think it's a good one. I think what we should do is engage with Holland College. They have a program where they come in and they look at heritage buildings. They have a heritage program component at Holland College. And maybe we can open up discussions with them and have them look at the entire building and to see what could be accomplished. I think it'd be a great project for the students that are enrolled in that particular program. It could be a win-win for the city, certainly a win-win for Holland College. And, I think we need to take a step back and look at the entire building. So let's engage with Holland College and to see what the opportunities are. And I'll be supporting the deferral.
Okay. Question on the deferral?
Question called.
Okay, I'm going to get you to vote using your... So you can, yep, this is just on the deferral. Good. Everyone vote? Votes in? 8-2, and we have McKinnon and Beck against. Just let me get that down. Okay, Mr. McGoon, please.
Your Worship, Water and Sewer Utility Resolution Number 2, July 9th, 2024, moved by Councillor Bob Durong, seconded by Councillor Justin Mutart. Resolved that the City of Charlottetown proceeds with the procurement of tandem truck services, material supply, and disposal of excavated materials, and accepts the bid submitted by Label Construction in the amount of $108,220 plus applicable taxes, and further that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay. Questions called? Okay, we'll just go back to... It is, but this is what we're doing now. Okay, please vote. All votes in. 10-0. Well, there's an easy one. Is that it, Councillor Duran? I think it is. Thank you, sir. Next is Public Works.
The Public Works Committee met on the 12th of June. The draft minutes are in your package. Civic Board for Persons with Disabilities met on June 18th. And unfortunately, we are trying to find a minute taker so that the minutes make it to the package. So there are no minutes in your package. Hopefully, they'll be included in the next one. If there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer. Thank you.
Councillor Duran.
Thank you, Councillor McCabe. I just have two questions here. One is under page 154 of the minutes, 6D. It describes where I put in last month a notice of motion. The mayor brought it up at the committee, but I don't see any discussion on it or, when is the expectation of a notice of motion when you put it forward to be enacted? I mean, it was, 30 days ago. It was at the committee level. Does staff look at it? You know, does it go to the CAO? What is the notice of motion, and when is it expected to come back to council?
Councillor, what digital page did you say?
Page 154, 6D.
Does anyone have that? I don't have that, 154. 164. Okay,
Maybe that's what it is.
164. So if you just go to that. Okay. Councillor McCabe.
I do recall you putting your notice of motion came through council, and as far as I understand, the CAO would then get that redirected through our committee, which we haven't seen yet, so, Scott, maybe is that on our agenda for this week, the notice of motion for the street, to relook at the streets, is what Councillor Duran's referring to?
Your worship, through to Councillor McCabe and Councillor Duran. So just because of staff time and vacations and all this stuff, we're still working to get that reviewed. I don't believe it will be on, we're planning a meeting for next week. I don't know if we'll get it on for next meeting, but we will have it on for the following one for sure.
That might have to take priority in the sense, because we are in paving season, and that notice of motion came, as Councillor Duran indicated, quite a while back. So if we're going to shift what we're planning to do with any paving of streets, I would suggest that we probably prioritize that for our meeting next week, or it really wouldn't make sense to have any kind of notice of motion.
I appreciate that, Councillor McCabe. Yeah, so Councillor Beck said that there was an updated agenda. So mine was back to page 154. I guess I wrote it down before the updated package came in. The next one is 6C, the tender for police cars. And I know it was deferred. So like where does that go? If it comes in and then, you know, the minutes state this tender has gone out, the lowest bidder comes back with it. Now we decide to you know, to say, okay, we're not going to go with that tender. We're going to try to revise it, you know. We get calls on that, same as the notice of motion. Where is the tender? You know, it went out, we won it, or the person won it. What are you doing with it? So that's where it is now. I can see it in the package, it's deferred, but deferred to when? Like, does it come up at another meeting, or if the minutes say something, you know, I'm just looking for some clarification here, if someone could explain it. Thank you.
Councillor Bernard, she's going to just jump before you, Councillor McCabe, so she can answer it.
Sure. You
Okay.
know, I know that there's been some discussion. I think we were all privy to some email correspondence indicating that there's been some discussion. I'm going to turn this over to Scott, but again, I'm assuming that we're going to have to revisit this coming through our committee. I haven't seen it yet.
Your worship, through to Councillor McCabe and Councillor Duran. So you're correct, it'll be on the agenda for next week once we finalize the date and time. So that agenda will be coming out very soon, and there is a report completed with further information. And a couple other individuals, I believe the chief of police or one of their staff will be there, as well as our superintendent who looks after fleet. He will also be there to further explain any questions. So that will all be on the docket for our next meeting next week.
Thank you.
And Councillor Duran, councillors are invited to come to those meetings. They're open to the councillors. It's up to the chair to allow anyone to speak for each council or ward, so please come. Councillor Bernard.
Thank you, Worship. I'm just trying to understand this. I thought the streets were all rated, and that's how the tender went out, by the streets that were rated, and how much money was approved in the capital budget, and there's the streets we're doing. So I'm trying to figure it now, what are we asking, to go back and review the streets to see if we're going to change it? Because I hear the chair saying, well, if we're going to change it, we should change it now. So change it based on what? Because I thought the street resurfacing, the data from that, correct me if I'm wrong, the data from the street resurfacing inspections is how you come up with your streets.
I would tend to agree with you, and I think that when the notice of motion came forward, it was suggested that we come back, and like anything, something could have changed. They will reevaluate. They'll make sure that everything's status quo. I'm assuming, and I'll let you speak, Scott, to that based on your data and based on what you've recommended, there probably won't be a change, but anybody has a right to ask. Go ahead, and you can respond to that, Scott.
Okay.
I think we had this discussion at the last committee meeting. Like, we know the need to do these streets. I've asked, I know other council members have asked, to put more money in the capital budget, right?
I'm just asking how.
Yeah, and that's, I think, will add and address some of these streets that that are further down the list. So I'm going to be asked again. Do you want to answer that, Scott?
Your worship, through the Councillor McCabe. So what we will do is just more or less go do and look at the review, the numbers that our inspector reviewed or when they inspected the roads last, compared to what we're seeing out there today, and validate to see if they were correct or if there was errors made in that decision. And so that'd be the information we'll bring forward at the next council or committee meeting to further explain our rationale for those roads chosen.
I would also like to ask you to come in at some point. You had provided a really clear design and explanation of how you come about getting the recommended streets, you know, based on your level of asphalt, where they're at. I really think it would be helpful for people to understand, although we might think certain streets are really poor in Charlottetown, when they show you the data and how they get to, based on the money we approve, I think that would be very helpful for all of us to understand the criteria that's been used. So if we could maybe have sometime, Your Worship, to have Scott do that presentation, it might be helpful for people to understand how they reach that.
Thank you. Councillor Drawn.
Thank you for the explanation. The reason behind the notice of motion was, you know, I had a bunch of residents saying, our streets are falling apart. You know, we're rated down on the list. So what I did was I asked for a notice of motion to look at these two streets, part of one street and another street. Because, like the guy, one of the residents said, listen, Bob, you know, there's puddles that sit there, they freeze, the salt, it breaks down. So in my discussions with the manager, they rate the streets in the fall. So 4, 5, 6 months later, you know, some streets heave, and you know, when you rated it in the fall, it might not be at the level that it is now 6 months later, when the salt and the ice and the heaving buckled it more. So that was the notice of motion, to take a look at these two streets to see if, you know, there was an indication of wear and tear that, you know, you couldn't see in the fall, but now it's here in the spring. Maybe a plow took up part of the road or something. Maybe a bunch of potholes came up that wasn't there in the fall. So that's why the notice of motion was to look at these two specific streets. Thank you.
But I'm sure, Councillor Drawn, you'll be supportive of adding more capital money to more streets.
Definitely.
Yep. Councillor Trio.
Yeah, I'm in support of adding more money to, you know, capital projects to pave more streets. But I think the neighborhood streets are taking an awful beating. I'll be coming forward here later on this evening with a notice of motion to look at a bunch of neighborhood streets that have been neglected for a long time. And I've seen some streets get paved in this city that are not in bad a shape as the ones that I'll be bringing forward here under the notice of motion of the streets I'm going to be presenting to the Public Works Committee. I mean, some of these neighborhood streets are a complete disaster. They're a disgrace, and they're an insult to the residents. They really are. So I don't know the methodology, but I mean, if it's worse first, I don't know why in the name of God some of these streets aren't getting paved. If it's truly the worst first. So I'd have to look at that criteria very, very closely to see, in fact, how that lines up, because these streets are a disaster, and if anyone here would like, I'll take you on a tour and I'll show you them.
Thank you, Councillor Trio. Okay, that's your report? Okay, next report is Economic, Tourism, Cultural Development. Councillor Trevor McKinnon and Mr. Wayne Long's here. Welcome back, Wayne. You going?
Thank you, Your Worship. Economic, Tourism, Cultural Development Committee did not meet since our last meeting. The Arts Advisory Board met on June 13th, and the minutes of this meeting are included in your package. There's no resolutions for your consideration. I'm just going to offer a few departmental highlights. Downtown Charlottetown, Inc. recently handed out its annual award celebrating individuals and businesses that have made outstanding contributions to Charlottetown within the business improvement area. Congratulations are extended to Retailer of the Year, Trailside Music Hall, Business Development
of the Year, Abby Coco, and Kent Scales, and Kent Scales, the winner of the 2024 President's Award. With the starting date of the South Pavilion Revitalization Project at Confederation Center of the Arts drawing closer, management at Confederation Center recently held a stakeholder information session for adjacent retailers and commercial entities in an effort to keep them informed of construction timelines, potential impacts, as well as answer any questions. Capital City Canada Day was a resounding success. A special thank you is extended to all staff who played a role in planning and delivering these celebrations for our residents. Next up is Natal Day weekend celebrations, which take place August 1st to the 4th. A program announcement is expected later this week. The Downtown Farmers Market opened on Sunday in its new location at Confederation Landing, and all signs so far are pointing to a successful move. The market will run on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. through September 29th. A busy summer events season continues with the Charlottetown Race Week, PEI Pride Festival, Winslow Charlottetown Royals FC Soccer Tournament, International Summer Series, Halifax Wanderers versus Middlesbrough FC, and Island Fringe Festival. It's all scheduled to get underway before the end of July. Make Our Hometown Beautiful nominations opened last week. The program recognizes residents, businesses, and community groups that contribute time and effort to maintaining beautiful gardens and landscapes in our city. Community groups and residents can self-nominate or nominate others on the city's website, charlottetown.ca/MOHB, or by calling 902-629-6613. Deadline to submit nominations is next Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. And finally, public art maintenance is now underway. The Irish Settlers Memorial was recently cleaned in advance of last month's Trainer Clan reunion and next year's Benevolent Irish Society 200th anniversary celebrations. The Carl Phillis sculpture, Unlocking History, which is located along the Confederation Trail near the Charlottetown Farmers Market, is scheduled to be removed from its base in the next few weeks to allow a local metalworks company to restore and repaint it. Anticipated that the piece will be reinstalled by the end of the summer season. So that's my report, and Manager Wayne Long is here to answer any questions if I can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor McKinnon. Councillor Twill, question from the floor.
Thank you for your presentation to council. As you mentioned, we had the Canada Day celebrations here in the capital city. And as I went throughout the city of Charlottetown, I was really disappointed with the fact there wasn't one Canadian flag in downtown Charlottetown. There wasn't one Canadian flag in any of our polls where we can have, a Canadian flag. I'm not sure if that's Downtown Business Association or if that's the city of Charlottetown. I'm not really sure, but we pride ourselves in being the capital city, the birthplace of Confederation, and there wasn't one Canadian flag in downtown Charlottetown or any of the entranceways into the city of Charlottetown. And to me, that is unacceptable. So instead of being critical, I think we should form a committee, a Canada Day committee here at City Hall, work with our staff, come up with a plan of action so that our downtown and throughout the city of Charlottetown can be decorated with Canadian flags. Best country in the world, and we don't have one Canadian flag up. I just can't get over it. We celebrate everything else, but we don't celebrate the birthplace of Confederation with Canadian flags. It should have been decorated. Oh, the entire city should have been decorated, and there wasn't not one Canadian flag. Totally unacceptable.
We'll discuss at the committee. You're on the committee, so. Wayne, Trevor, you're all right?
Your Worship, through the chair, through to Councillor Twill, the tourism and event staff aren't here this evening, can speak to that directly, but I would say that the downtown capital city street banners were all throughout the downtown core. I am aware of that. I've seen those all over the downtown, and it's in line with what the city corporation would do in most years. There's a number of Canadian flags flying across the city, including on the lawn here at City Hall, at the Provincial Building and Confederation Landing Park and around town. There was a number of small flags that come from Canadian heritage that were handed out to children and families throughout the city, not only at Victoria Park, but at Founders Hall on the waterfront, and activities that are happening on Victoria Road. But I think perhaps Councillor Tweel can raise it at the next committee meeting and let the staff who organized the event speak to it directly.
Okay, Councillor McAleer.
Yeah,
Councillor McAleer, can you just stand there? Yeah.
Yeah,
So we can all see
Councillor
you.
McKinnon, thanks for your report. You referenced the relocation of the farmers market, and was with great interest that I read. I know it was a bit of a media event on Compass last night, and seems to be very positive. Read in CBC News here this morning, market manager Mark Rowlett said he was pleased to see so many people out at the new location on Sunday. It's a really great space to be in, Carl Rowlett said. The vibe is much more relaxed than it ever was on the street, which is nice. It's also not baking under your feet, which is nice. There's grass, there's trees. There's a cruise ship in today, which helps. So yeah, we're really happy to be here. Anyway, thank you.
Councillor Tweel, second time.
Thank you, Wayne, for your response. I'm talking all in through here. I never saw any flags. The entranceways into the city and all through here, I just didn't see them. So again, I'm not trying to be critical. I'm pointing it out. And what I think is be nice to formulate a committee, start now, so that there's no mistake about it. When you enter the city of Charlottetown, it's a Canada Day celebration.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Tweel. So it's on the next, Councillor McKinnon, that'll be on that next agenda item, including the Fort Edward Battery. There was always a Canadian flag there. It wasn't up this year again, so. No? Okay. Next is Environment and Sustainability, and that's Councillor Terry Bernard, Ward 10.
Thank you, Your Worship. Environment Sustainability Committee met on June the 24th. As you know, the minutes are in your package. There is no resolutions for consideration, but a couple of highlights, Your Worship. On June 25, the city held a Climate Action Plan public engagement event where the community was invited to provide input to inform the goals and actions of the plan, Your Worship. A survey is currently live. Those that were unable to attend the in-person event are encouraged to go online and still provide input. The survey can be accessed at charlottetownhall.ca/climateaction. So look forward to getting as much input as we can on that. Another good news, Bike Week ran from June 17th to the 24th with 15 events hosted by municipal organizations, Your Worship. We'd like to thank all the organizations who hosted events to promote safe cycling as a fun and healthy way to get around. So, Your Worship, Cycling PEI, the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, the Reach Foundation, McQueen's Bike Shop, Rising Tide e-bikes, and the PEI Bike Guy. There was hundreds of people with an age range from 5 to 86 years old participate in the events, and we had 57 people trying the e-bike for the first time. So, Your Worship, on the transit, this just continues to grow. Monthly transit ridership for June was 117,653, which is a 15% increase year over year. The year-to-date this year is 23% increase over 2023. So for the first 6 months of 2024, we have already surpassed total ridership for 2019. So transit continues to spike upwards very rapidly, Your Worship. So just another note that Your Worship, you and I talked, and we've invited Mike Cassidy from T3 to come in next week to give council the background we talked about on transit, the beginning and how it got started, and the how he got to where he is today. So I'll be waiting for you, I guess, your worship, to book that. We're looking at a 12 o'clock meeting, maybe this week coming.
And Councillor Bernard, I think there's general consensus to bring in Mr. Cassidy to talk about.
Oh, I think there's a number of new councillors here, and I don't think they know the history, and I think it'd be nice to bring in the history of how it got started.
No,
and-
that's-
and
that's-
A lot of things they had to go through to get it where it is, and how it's ramping up today,
Yeah.
so.
So I sense there is a general consensus to bring him in and discuss the start and where it is today, which is quite amazing, 19 years later.
It is, yeah.
Councillor, can you just stand there? Councillor Bex, go ahead.
Sorry, I thought Mike was coming in to speak to us at some point in time.
He's just reminding us that he will be coming in on the fourth Tuesday.
Yeah.
As part of, and I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure there's
Sorry.
general consensus from council that we'll all be here to listen
Oh,
to
I
this.
think it's vital that, yeah, I'd like it.
Thank you. And I do want to say, Councillor Bernard, I did go on the City of Charlottetown bike ride. It was a 90-minute ride. Thank God I had my e-bike. Jeez. Then the chain fell off. Of course, with electric bike, all you do is press the accelerator and you're home.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right on.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Finance, Audit, Tendering, and Administration, Councillor John McAleer, Ward 7.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Just before I go to my report, I'd like to express attended the City of Charlottetown Long Service Awards dinner or luncheon, I guess, last week, and where they gave out 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30-year, 35, 50-year rewards and retirees. And for the people in the Finance Department, just wanted to recognize again, 5-year award went to Stephen Burke in our Finance Department. A 10-year award went to Tamara Whitlock in the Finance Department, and Leslie Ann Quinn in the Finance Department. And also then on the retirees, there was Aveda Fernandez that retired, and Jackie McKinnon got a 30-year award.
And Amy Doyle. Amy Doyle was a retiree, too.
Pardon me?
Amy Doyle was retiree. Yeah.
Pardon me, I missed, and Amy Doyle, thank you, Mayor. Yes, to my report, the Finance Auditor and the Tendering Administration Committee last met June 12th, 26th, July 3rd, 24. The minutes for those meetings are in your package. There's one resolution for council for your consideration. There's Betty and team have prepared draft year-end financial statement report, monthly financial statement report in your packages, and the update regarding tenders, RFPs, and RFQs. And I'm happy to entertain any questions, answer them as best I can, and if not, have Dan Jenkins, CFO, and Betty French, Finance Manager here. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Twill.
With the passing of the resolution to approve $100,000 for new lights at UPEI, I brought up the fact that there was no memorandum of understanding in terms of what the city of Charlottetown can receive in return. That is, for example, our community groups having access to the field on a consistent basis, the times, what times are going to be permitted to utilize the facility. That was one of the questions I asked in Parks and Rec. Still never got a response. And furthermore, I was looking at a cost-benefit analysis as to what it would cost community groups to pay the University of Prince Edward Island for access to the that particular venue and the other recreational sports field, and to compare what it costs community groups to pay for sports fields that are owned by the city of Charlottetown. So that information, I'm still waiting for those two pieces of valuable information. And maybe you can give me an update as to where we're at with the memorandum of understanding.
Thank you, Councillor Twill, and yeah, you did reiterate that at earlier meetings, as you indicated. As for the MOU, I expect that when that is written up, that the MOU will have that information, those caveats attached to it. And as for the comparative fees for user groups versus UPI usage, I trust, I'm not just sure, I don't see Frank here, and I
Frank's
don't know, Dan or Betty have any reply to that, to Councillor Twill?
Mr. Jenkins, just before you answer, I know that this money that was made quite clear, the funding that we put forward, if they do not get the ACOA funding, if they do not get the funding from the province, there's no deal. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dan. And so those two bases have to be touched or achieved, and then we go through the process of working out the details of the MOU. Mr. Jenkins?
Yes, Your Worship, correct. So I do believe they have the majority of the funding committed for the lighting project, which is what our contribution was for. But there is some additional gap that has to be covered. Mr. Donaldson did confirm, Councillor Twill through the chair, that the rate for community group usage is going to be $65 as it would be per hour, as it would be for the city of Charlottetown. So we did get that information confirmed at the last meeting.
Yeah, that was in the package, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Twill, second question?
Yeah, well, that was one of the selling features Mr. Donaldson presented to the Finance Committee, and when he presented to the Parks and Recreation Committee. That was one of the outstanding features, talking about access to this facility and of course, the other facility. And I think that was influential in the decision that was made by City Council. So, that information should be forthcoming, and we should have it. Have it on a piece of paper, and of course, the memorandum of understanding. I mean, that's what the whole thing was all about. That was the rationalization to come here to City Hall to request that $100,000. This was going to be good for our community groups, our recreational groups. So, I haven't seen anything yet. I haven't seen anything in writing, and that was supposed to be forthcoming to all members of City Council.
Okay. Again, Mr. Jenkins, 2 years, 50,000 per year, correct? That was the resolution?
Yeah, the resolution was to commit $50,000 in this budget year through the extraordinary expenses account, and then subject to approval of next year's budget, another $50,000 would be the intention of council to support.
And no check will be signed unless the province and ACOA commits to the funding?
Yes.
And no memorandum of understanding, MOU, will take place until those two funding sources are achieved, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we would essentially just do a funding agreement with the university and outline what our expectations are. But the big benefit through the chair to Councillor Twill is the additional hours of available use for that facility, which would be available for both city recreation and parks use and other community groups.
Yeah, Mayor Brown, to Councillor Twill, yeah, can't make it any more clear, Councillor Twill. I mean, that memorandum of understanding and the concerns that you have, I feel quite confident will be addressed when the appropriate time comes in advance of forwarding any funds. So I don't know what more I can say. Thank you.
Councillor Beck.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, there was a clear demonstration of a willingness to work with the various partners, us being one of them, that was clearly stated. A part of moving forward with this was the benefit that would be returned back to the city would be taken into consideration. So I think there was a pretty clear acknowledgement, so that when the time does come to look at any MOU that we may have, whatever it may be, I think I'm pretty confident that those can be addressed at that time, as I think the willingness to work together is there.
Thank you. Councillor Bernard.
Probably no need, I mean, it's saying the same thing.
Oh, say it anyways.
Anyway, whenever we had these conversations, so the $100,000 was over 2 years, as you heard the director say. We all know we're behind in all our sports fields. So they're looking to build a turf field, have lights on it, so we know there's going to be, scheduling can go into the evening, beyond 10 o'clock. So the question was asked from Bruce Donaldson, with our contribution, would our city groups be able to use it? The answer was yes, he will be meeting with all those city groups. If we need to put an MOU together, he will. He said no problem, they put an MOU together. So is there a benefit for this for the community? Yes, there is. He also offered the area for events. It holds up to 6,000 to 7,000 people. So you're in the old Canada Games venue. So if there's things we want to put on that come up, then you'll also have that venue to use for that. So I think it's a new partnership. I'm definitely all for it. I think for $100,000, I mean, it costs over $1 million just to build a turf field today. So this will help some of our user groups. They've been in this chamber telling them that we don't have enough fields. Registrations, enrollment keeps going up, in whether it's soccer, whether it's rugby, whether it's football, the enrollments are going up, but we're not building any more fields. The population is growing. This is a possible quick fix. You're right. The other partners have to sign on to it. We're just one partner. They're saying, will you be a partner for $100,000 for the lights? Yes. Okay. But we still need the government, we still need a COA, we still need the federal government. So, thank you.
Do you have a resolution there, Mr. McEwen, acting CAO?
Your Worship, Finance, Audit, Tendering, and Administration, Resolution Number 1, July 9th, 2024, moved by Councillor John McAleer, seconded by Councillor Terry Bernard. Resolved, the Council approve the funding request from Charlottetown Civic Centre Management, Inc., CCCMI, or the Eastlink Center, for $25,000 to develop an RFP document that will solicit proposals from engineering and architecture professionals to design and manage a proposed expansion/renovation of the arena facilities, Eastlink Center, allocating $25,000 from the Extraordinary Expense Reserve to fund this request. And further, that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Question? Question's called. I'm going to just put this up here. Ready to vote. Cast your vote. Please. Merci beaucoup. Okay. 10-0. Okay, just one sec. Councillor Twill?
No, I was going to ask, but the vote.
Okay.
I was going to
Okay.
talk to the resolution, but anyway, you can ask for it.
So, thank you. We have Human Resources, Councillor Justin Mattard. Councillor Mattard. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Pas de problème.
Before I start, Councillor John McAleer, you got to me beforehand, but I'd also like to extend appreciation and gratitude to all of the staff who were recognized last week during the service awards. For those, who are just new into their careers, but obviously we had some long-standing employees. And being one myself, I can certainly appreciate all the work and effort through the staff here at the city. And again, for those who are, just starting out, but also those who have put in many years. I think I saw one for 50 years, I think was a gentleman. So I was trying to do the math on that, thinking, did I see someone there that late? But anyhow, there's someone who's definitely there for a while. Anyhow, I just wanted to recognize that as well. So moving on, the Human Resource Committee met on July 2nd of 2024. There's no resolutions for your consideration, and we had a closed meeting, so there's no minutes in the package. To address any questions. Thank you.
Councillor Mattard. The luncheon was very well done. It was a great day, and we have great employees in this city, and I know we don't say thank you enough, but if we don't have a top-notch staff like we do throughout the organization, it'd be a difficult place to run and operate. So big kudos to all of them, from all of us. Okay. Next one is Protective and Emergency Services. Councillor Kevin Ramsey, Ward 5.
Thank you, Your Worship. Protective and Emergency Service Committee. We met, where did we meet there? June 19th, 2024. The minutes are in your package. We have no resolutions for you to consider. Any questions? If I can't answer them, our police chief is here, so we'll go from there. Thank you.
Councillor Mitchell Tweel, Ward 4.
Thank you. It's not a question, it's just a request. I'd like you to take this back to your committee. The gentleman that we have, or the police officer that's out doing traffic control, I think his name is Irving. He's doing a heck of a job. He's a real policeman, let me tell you. He's doing one heck of a job. But I think with the amount of traffic that's on the city streets, whether it's West Royalty, East Royalty, Hillsborough Park, the old city, I'd like to see the committee entertain and examine the opportunity of reinstating the traffic unit so that all facets of the city of Charlottetown are covered on a consistent and predictable basis. So please take that back to your committee and see what the possibilities are of reinstating the traffic unit. I think it'll be well received.
Councillor Ramsey.
I thank you for that. What's your name? Councillor Tweel, yes. We will take it back, and I seen this officer that you've been talking about on my way over to Chucky's 18 times a day. In fact, I seen him again today pulling over vehicles. He's doing it every day. He's doing his job. He's doing a fantastic job, and he doesn't seem to be getting a whole lot of abuse because people are sitting there talking to him. So he's doing his job, Chief, so if you can pass on all that to Irvin. Thank you.
I heard he pulled you over, Councillor Ramsey.
That was me.
Councillor Tweel, follow up? Second question?
Just about the, the police officer, Irving. One of the reasons why he doesn't get a whole lot of abuse because he has a tremendous way about him and how he talks to people when he pulls them over. And even when he's giving them a ticket, he makes them feel good. I don't know how he does it, but he deserves a lot of credit, Chief. I'll tell you that right now. Whatever he's being paid, he should double his salary. He does a heck of a job. No, he deserves it. He does a heck of a job.
Yeah. That's a union issue. Sorry, we can't deal with that. Councillor Ramsey. Okay. Oh, done. Okay. Good. Strategic priorities. We have Councillor Norman Beck, Ward 3.
Thank you for that, Your Worship. So the strategic priorities, communication, cooperation, intergovernmental, oh geez, whatever. You know the committee I'm referring to. I mix it up every time. Something like that. Intergovernmental affairs. Thank you, Councillor Ramsey. Anyway, we met on June 27th. We were, as you saw in the minutes, there was a request to defer discussion on the Kent Street Entertainment District. We had hoped to have that later last week, but due to unavailability of various members, we couldn't pull it off. So we are meeting tomorrow, and we hopefully we'll have some discussion on that as well too. So if there are any questions about what's in the minutes, I will do my best to answer them for you. Thank you.
So Richard, you have a resolution?
There is one resolution, Your Worship. Strategic Priorities, Communications, and Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee, or whatever you want to call it. Resolution number 1, July 9th, 2024, moved by Councillor Norman Beck, seconded by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff. Resolved that as per the conditions of the request for proposals for print services, the submission of Ricoh Canada Inc. in the amount of $70,071 plus all applicable taxes over 5 years be accepted, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Is it a good deal? Okay, okay. Okay, please cast your vote. Rory's waiting down there to see if there's a mistake. Good. All in? Sounds like the Racino. 10-0. Okay. Photocopying services continue. Okay. So, yeah, just 1 second, sir. Go ahead, Councillor Ramsey.
Yes, and I understand it has nothing to do with the resolution. What is the purpose, maybe Rory can understand or explain why it has to go up on the screen? Is it for the public?
Yep.
Okay, no, I just wondered,
Yep.
what was the whole purpose?
Yep.
Because, we
We'll
worked
get
at it.
better.
We
We'll get
tried to
better
get
at
it
it.
going for the last couple of years.
Yep.
We didn't do it, no.
Yeah. And it's easier for Tracy because then Tracy just doesn't have to, it's recorded, right, Tracy?
Oh, no, don't blame Tracy, I was just wondering what it's all about.
Okay. Notice of motion. We have 4. So the first one, go ahead. Okay, just 1 second. The other 4, Richard? Okay. Okay, just one. Councillor Bernard, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, because there's a number of changes here being promoted for, or being asked for the code of conduct. Do we, as a council, pass that, or does this just go through with no conversation?
That's in the report. What page? 299?
I got 301, but
Okay,
anyway,
okay,
299 to 300, yeah.
Yeah, just 1 second. Do you want to, we'll get an answer? Okay. Councillor Beck.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Bernard. We did actually discuss that at our last meeting, and as you, council has been aware, we have about 26 bylaws that are requiring updates, some that date back to 1999. So we're in the process of figuring out what are we going to be prioritizing. Part of the Code of Conduct bylaw adoption was the fact that there were some elements missing from what was required in the MGA, and the purpose of giving this here to you today was to highlight the red parts that will be part of it going forward, that had to be in there, that were missing from our existing code of conduct. So the other part is that there are still some opportunity to add to it. If there are some things in there that you feel should be looked at, we can still do that. And the other component is that Eleanor was doing a jurisdictional scan of various other locales to see what they have in their code of conducts that we may look at applying or implementing into ours. So it's still a bit of a living document. The purpose was just to get this out for information, to let people be aware of, because we will be adopting it, we will be making it official, and there's still a little bit of work to come. So if there's anything to come forth, you can forward it through.
Yeah, so the adoption has to come back to council for debate and dialogue and then a decision. Oh, yeah, this is what's, yeah, so this is just, as you said, a living document. It's not done yet.
No. It's information just to get a little bit ahead of it.
FYI.
So when that comes forth, we'll be looking at it, we'll be looking at official changing and updating of our bylaws. And one other thing I might add too is that Eleanor will be sending out a survey to you guys to prioritize which bylaws we have to update, because there are some that, everyone kind of has their own hot button issues as to we got to do that right now. We have to make sure that gets updated. So we do have, for example, the deputy put a councillor inquiry segment to the procedural bylaw. So that would require an amendment, but we're looking at some other things like consensus agenda and things like that. So we might as well do it with kind of a full sweep and then figure out which ones we want our professional staff to prioritize and which ones should be taken off the docket first, because it does require, we do require some updates.
Do you have a follow-up? Second question? Go ahead.
No, that's fine, because sometimes this stuff comes through and then, basically they'll say, well, it was in the minutes, you didn't question it, so it's going to come back. So I've read through it, especially all the changes to the code of conduct. I just, of course, erased it. Let me bring it back up here.
But as you know, Councillor Bernard, you can come to the Strategic Priorities Committee and bring up those points that you want to bring up, and you can repeat them from tonight, too.
Well, I guess we only got it in our packets, so I didn't know they were talking about it. So anyway, and I'm okay with it. It looks good. The only thing on 8.3. Well,
Member of council who fails to comply.
8.3 is 301.
there we go, yeah. So 8.3301. So it talks about the new councillors, and they have to go through the code of conduct, so on, and that makes sense. The CAO shall report to council if a member fails or refuses to complete the training. If a member of council who fails to refuse to complete the code of conduct within the time specified, that person shall not carry out any power, duty, or function as a member of council, receive any remuneration, and that's fine. I just wonder if C is a little bit much. Be considered present at a meeting. To not be considered present at a meeting, even if a member is physically present. I don't think that's in the
You're not allowed
MJA.
to be at a meeting.
That's not what it says.
No, that's what needs to be.
Not to be considered present. So in other words, you missed 3 meetings, you're not allowed to be elected official anymore. And I don't believe that is in the MGA, but I mean, it may be in some others. But I'm wondering if that's not a little strong, because you already have A and B
Yeah.
and the other issues there. This is just on the training.
Yeah, it is in the MGA if you miss 3 regular monthly meetings, 3 consecutive. That's what happened in Summerside.
That's right.
Regular monthly meetings like tonight.
Right.
3 of them.
So that's not what this says.
No.
What I'm saying is, one of the 3 things, you shall not be considered present at a meeting, even if the member is physically present. And I'm just wondering if that's a little strong. We already have a number of things there.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if that's a little strong, that's all.
Can you provide some, just maybe you're going to get some feedback, just take note of that, Councillor McCabe, Ramsey, Councillor Tweel. Councillor Tweel.
Oh, I don't want to be on there.
Councillor Beck, talked about the CAO doing a jurisdictional scan. I'd be quite interested in seeing that information, that jurisdictional scan that the CAO actually researched. I'd like to propose something totally different from what we have in terms of codes of conduct and who administers the code of conduct, who reports and who oversees it. I'd like to take the whole code of conduct, coming to council and council making a ruling on the respective fellow councillors. I personally find that very troublesome. I would like to see, maybe we can entertain the idea of a retired judge, where a retired judge would gather all the information, look at the parameters of what the penalties are, or what needs to be done with respect to an elected official, or could be anyone in the city's corporation for that matter. It doesn't have to be an elected official. And just take that responsibility where we're adjudicating and rendering a decision. I've said on many occasions, I believe that we should be impartial, independent. And I'd like to see that format explored, Councillor Beck. So,
He's taking note of that.
if you could, if you could take that under consideration. To my mind, I'd feel much more comfortable as opposed to, 9 or 8 councillors.
Ganging up on one.
I didn't say that. You said that.
I did.
Yeah. Rendering a decision or coming down on a decision, I find it very difficult because lots of times I see flaws in the process and I'm not comfortable with that. And I'd like to see that responsibility taken out of our hands and left with maybe a retired judge or someone that can be truly independent of Charlottetown City Council and truly independent of senior administration.
Yep.
Take the politics out of it completely and totally.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Ramsey, you just take a note of what you're,
Thank you. for this, Councillor Beck, and I think you already answered the question about all the bylaws we're trying to change and reinforce. But I thought last week, in the last 4 or 5 years, that before we beat this code of conduct to death with the councillors, we should be, there's other bylaws that should be looked at first, like the ones that we keep bringing up in police and with council, with properties and derelict properties and things along that line. Like, I think they're more important than sort of reining us in to have us in the right idea. Like, if we can put that, and you stated that we should prioritize everything, like, that would be one that I would really push, because we keep hearing in here how it gotta come back to council about certain properties, and then gotta wait another 4 weeks, things along that line. I think that's a little more important, like than trying to rein all of us in as a councillor. Like, there's other bylaws that should be looked at first, my own personal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
If anyone else wants
Yeah,
to comment.
Councillor McCabe, do you want to add to the discussion?
Yeah, no, I was just confirming that you did indicate there would be a survey coming out for us to answer, so that some of that stuff could be prioritized, right? Okay.
Councillor Beck, you're on the floor. And Mr. Jenkins can address the MGA too, if you wish to have him speak to it.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, really, and, you know, Councillor Bernard, I'll go to your point first. Looking at that doesn't make sense to me. So I think this is the part where, this is a time now where I think we need second sets of eyes to say, does it fit? Is it appropriate? Should we be going ahead with that? So that's the sort of analysis that I want, or we want people to be doing and looking at it. The same with the feedback coming back about what are the priorities? Because, you know, we have to come up with a collective decision, and it was kind of what I was intimating earlier, that everyone has their own priorities or their home hot button, but we have to instruct our professional staff, where do we want you to dedicate the time and effort? So that's kind of what that is about. So hopefully that will be coming forth in the near future. Councillor Tweel, I do take your comment to heart as well too. I think I've had my own discomfort with the process, and I think, but again, that's something that, you know, if we go back to the most recent one, we were bound by our bylaws, and the bylaws were followed. And may not like them, we may not like the process, but that's what we had to do. So again, this is part of the kind of the critical analysis time now, where we say, what do we want our unsightly premises bylaw to look like, our procedural bylaw to look like, our code of conduct bylaw to look like? So that's the invitation. And the invitation is to everyone to kind of, to bring my old educators, the old put the thinking hat on, kids, and go to it, right? So that's kind of where we're at. So anything is on the table. This isn't this is etched in dust, as we would say, and it's open to be shaped. So look forward to hearing from everybody.
Can we call on Mr. Jenkins?
Thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Bernard. You're correct that the requirement to be deemed absent is not in the MGA itself, but it is in the Code of Conduct regulations, which form part of the legislation that we have to abide by. So it's Section 4(6), and it actually requires that the councillor be deemed absent if they haven't completed the trainings.
In the code of conduct, but it's in the what?
It's in the Code of Conduct regulations, which form part of the legislation. There's the act.
So it's not in the MGA, it's in the code of conduct. Okay.
Yep.
I get you. Okay. Well, just thank you for bringing this out and having it so identifiable. It's great information for us to see, but I see it's highlighted the changes, which is great. So, thank you.
If you go to Division 5, disqualification, Section 98, disqualification of council member in the MGA, it's under Section 98, subsection 4, and it says, where a council member is absent from 3 consecutive regular scheduled meetings of the council or a council committee on which the member serves, is disqualified. That's in the MGA. And it could be also in our procedural bylaw. But
regular council meeting once a month.
that's, yeah. Right. No special, it's regular monthly. It says regular scheduled meetings.
So, special meetings, I know you and I talked.
Well, we don't consider the fourth Tuesday as a regular meeting. That's a special meeting. So we only have, 3 would be first Tuesday, or second Tuesday in July, second Tuesday in August, second Tuesday in September, you're gone. And Councillor Twill, what you said about an ethics officer, there is an ethics commissioner for the province. Her name is Jessie Frost Wicks, and she deals with issues between elected officials in regards of conflict of interest, disagreements with other issues that might arise with an elected official in his or her capacity. And there's also a federal ethics commissioner. So what I'm saying, members of the House, whether at the provincial or the federal level, do not become a court and judge of their peers. That's left up to an independent body, but it's not in the MGA. Okay. But he's taken this under advisement, and I just want to make sure that we do have the procurement bylaw. That's a priority, and so is the summary offense ticketing bylaw. That's another priority.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you go across Canada, there's different formats and there's different processes where elected officials are not involved with making a determination or rendering judgment on a fellow councillor.
Yep.
And to my mind, I would like to proceed to that fashion, because I think we need to take the politics out of codes of conduct, and that's whether it's council or senior administration or administration, whatever the case may be. Let's have someone that's truly, truly independent and away from City Hall altogether. That's, to my mind, is more objective, it's more impartial, and I'd have much more confidence in that process.
Duly noted. Mr. Jenkins, do you want to wrap it up? Or-
Yeah, just for clarification, Your Worship, just with respect to the 3 regular meetings.
Yeah.
The way the Act reads is that it's 3 regularly scheduled meetings of council. So
Yeah.
that could be a regular meeting, a special meeting, or a committee meeting. So you could be disqualified if council so chose after a month.
I think we have to get a legal opinion on that, because the councillor in Summerside was the 3 regular scheduled monthly meetings, which would be regular and special. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Let's get a legal opinion on that.
And that's why we're so careful.
Yeah.
We're trying to change, we went from Tuesday, and we're going for special meetings and things that we didn't put that second or the last Tuesday of the month
Fourth
as a
Tuesday.
regular meeting. We
Yeah.
kept it as a special meeting because it can be canceled anytime, or, am I correct, Councillor Beck? I think so. So I think we should get clarification.
We'll get an opinion on it. Okay, Councillor Beck, do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, just one thought. I think maybe it requires a further clarification, but it's not like if you miss a regular council meeting and then a committee meeting and then a special meeting, it's 3 of the same meetings, I think is my understanding.
So this is a regular meeting.
I know, but if you were, let's say, if you missed 3 emergency and protective services meetings in a row, that would apply. But it's per section. So it would be 3 regular meetings, it would be 3 committee meetings.
Yeah. Let's get that clarified legally.
That's the sort of
legally.
thing that
Yeah.
I think we have
Okay.
to get clarified.
Richard, notice of motion number 1.
Your Worship, notice of motion number 1 from Councillor Julie McCabe. The council review the City of Charlottetown dangerous, hazardous, and unsightly premises bylaw and consider amendments, particularly to section 8.3, non-compliance, whereby permitting the bylaw enforcement officer, inspector, to immediately enter a property without the need of a resolution of council to carry out work required to bring the property into compliance as per the bylaw. Notice of motion number 2 from Councillor Mitchell Tweel. The council requests an outside, independent, impartial, professional reassessment and evaluation of the condition of the following city streets: Wendy Drive from Queen Street to Kirkwood Drive, Eden Street from Queen Street to University Avenue, Summer Street from Queen Street to University Avenue, Lower Douglas Street from Spring Park Road to Queen Street, Valley Street from Conley Street to Douglas Street, Bayfield Street from University Avenue to Queen Street. Notice of motion number 3 from Councillor Mitchell Tweel. The council consider amending Initiative 8 of the Housing Accelerator Fund Contribution Agreement executed January 24th, 2024, so that increased densification is not permitted, in particular, the lands known as the experimental farm property. Notice of motion number 4 from Councillor Mitchell Tweel. To ensure the protection of Charlottetown citizens from health risks associated with drug paraphernalia left in public areas, Council is requested to investigate the ongoing issues concerning the matter of drug paraphernalia in the city, including, but not limited to, authorization for city work crews to collect used drug paraphernalia, policy details whereby authorizing the City of Charlottetown's responsibility for cleaning up drug paraphernalia and related garbage, and incurred costs to taxpayers.
Okay, those notices are duly noted. Thank you, Mr. McEwen. You have, I think, new business, 2 resolutions.
Your Worship, new business, resolution number 1 does speak to 2 individuals, perhaps why there was a mention of 2 resolutions.
Yeah.
So new business, resolution number 1, July 9th, 2024, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Resolved that, effective immediately and as recommended by His Worship Mayor Philip Brown, Tanvir Singh be appointed to the Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Task Force, and Janine Poole be appointed to the Civic Board for Persons with Disabilities.
Okay. Question, I'm just trying to get this up here. Oh, he left. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not so much with respect to this committee or the individual that the mover and second is recommending. Can you please outline the process of how names are selected? I get questions from residents in our city that would like to participate in some of these committees. And I really don't understand how this process works. Like, where does it start and where does it end?
Yeah. So, Councillor Tweel, it's been a process for the last 30 years you've been here. It's changed a little bit. We do a call out. Call out goes out through public media. I think there's an advertisement in the paper, social media. And then the names are submitted to Human Resources. They go up to Human Resources, then they're vetted. And then those names come down to the office of the mayor. I look at what's been vetted, and I make the recommendation. And I think that the recommendation is based on trying to be fair and equitable for all wards in the city, so that we're just not taken from one area, that we're taken from all areas that cover a geographical representation of our committees at the agencies, at the boards, and at the advisory committees. So that's a due process I take. Go ahead. Just item up. Yeah.
So what other prerequisites besides looking from a geographical perspective, like what other prerequisites do you entertain? For example, do you look at education?
Yeah.
Do you look at work experience? Some of the organizations that they've been involved with that are related to that particular committee. Could you give me a thumbnail sketch as to what the criteria is? So when I'm being asked, I can give that criteria to residents in the community and say, here's the criteria. It's forwarded. The process is it's forwarded up to the Human Resource Department. As I understand it, the manager makes a recommendations. I don't know how many names they submit to you, Mr. Mayor.
All of them.
What?
All of them.
Oh, okay, so you get all the names, so there could be 35 names for a committee.
Yep. So this time there was 1 for the EDI and 3 for the
Okay, but,
Persons with Disabilities Advisory Committee.
okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So you go over the applications, and then you make the determination. So again, I want to understand what the criteria is and what the standard is that you follow.
Yep. So if you go to page 322, you'll see the background for Taryn Bear, who did work with us. Taryn Bear. Taryn Bear, he was one of our IT people. He's moved on. Okay, Taryn Bear has served in cultural committees during past employment where he aided in creating policies and events with regards to multicultural employees. Taryn Bear has immigrated to Canada from India, and he can share a great deal of in-ground issues and experience to what immigrants experience when arriving in Prince Edward Island. The next one is the one I like. Jeannie Poole. Jeannie lives in Ward 4. Jeannie has over 24 years of experience, customer experience, at Walmart, and 15 years of a hotel customer service at the Delta Prince Edward Hotel. While working at Walmart, Jeannie was an active member of the Health and Safety Committee. Jeannie is a little person and has a daughter who is 28 years old who also has dwarfism. Jeannie is also part of the BIA, the Brain Injury Association of Prince Edward Island. So I think that is a kind of a fit. No, I'm just explaining to you that, and the criteria is right there. Diversity, equity, inclusion, civic board for persons with disabilities. And I couldn't see a better representation through those, no. I've already said the criteria. Geographical representation, education, experience.
Who can contribute to the boards based on their experience and education and who they are?
Yeah, and I think if you read what was in the package, it clearly explains that we have people that want to be involved, and I think when they put their name forward, I salute them. Yeah.
I didn't ask about the candidate. I just wanted to understand
And-
the criteria. So it's candidate A, B, C, D. To me, that's not what I was looking for.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's John Smith or whoever the case may be, I just want to understand the criteria so I could take the criteria and give it a copy of that criteria
Yep.
to my resident.
Yep. So just print up page 322 and hand that out to your residents, because I think these are very qualified individuals. And again, this idea of providing a background experience or background of each individual was asked by this council. And I thank the Human Resources Department to search it out. And if they disagreed with me, I'm sure they would say, Philip, I don't think that fits. I think that people that put their name forward, it's like anyone that wants to participate in the city of Charlottetown, I acknowledge them and cheer them on. Question?
Question called.
Please vote. Okay. I closed it beforehand, did I? No? Okay, 10-0. Okay. Well, I want to thank Richard McEwen, our acting CAO, that took home the cup from Anaheim, California. You had to go down to Anaheim, California to get that cup. But Richard, we're glad to have it here in City Hall. And you can put it in the office of the mayor anytime. Motion to adjourn. Moved second. See you later.